This is part 2 of reformatting the audio equipment in the living room, and I realized that the video is probably a bit dark and grainy, and that's just because we don't have good lighting in this room, and I haven't fixed that yet. Hopefully that's something we can deal with in the coming months. Regardless, let's get this all taken care of here. So I have bought some speaker stands. I bought 4 of them, and the objective is going to be to put the speaker stands on top of the subs on either side of the table so that we can free up enough space on the table to put the display back on the table. It's fine right now because there's nothing to look at outside, but once the springtime comes and the yard starts to look nice again, I'm not going to like having this monitor blocking the window. So there's a bit of a constraint that's been placed on the monitor selection here, and that is the fact that we now have this second box which needs to display on the monitor. Upon the initial setup of this, it did not seem to work properly with the monitor that I had here, which was this older Dell monitor. So I put this other one here so that we could get this set up to work and test it out at the time. But now that I'm a little more familiar with this, I want to go back through this and see if we can set this up to work with the older monitor. What it seemed like at the moment was that this was only able to display standard resolution sizes, so for instance 480, 720, 1080, etc. So that might be the case, but it also has auto and source direct, and I want to see if that would allow us to pick a resolution that's non-standard. So it seems like auto grabbed the correct resolution. This is a 1920 by 1080 monitor. So let's disconnect this. Now, I don't know if this is going to work because to use the other monitor, we are now going to have to use an HDMI to DVI adapter, and I don't know if the DVI will provide the correct input parameters to the box here that would tell it what the resolution is. If we have to use this monitor, that's fine, we can. It just, the problem is it's such a high resolution that the text becomes very small and difficult to read from, even just sitting here with the table on the other side of the table. So we need a regular AC power cord to test this other monitor. And we need to connect our HDMI adapter. Okay. Okay, so this is now connected. It says digital input, and you can tell that it has some type of signal because the backlighting has come on, but it's not a usable signal. It's probably out of range, would be my guess, and this is the behavior that it exhibited the first time that we tried to test this. So I'm going to, just by memory, kind of go through the source, or the resolution menu rather, Well, actually, we don't have to do by memory because it's displaying it down there. So we want source direct, and the hope is it would pick the resolution automatically, and it just doesn't seem like it has. So if we try auto, it comes up with something, but it's not, the display is not interpreting it correctly. I'm surprised that 480 doesn't fit on this screen. I almost wonder if there's something wrong with that adapter. I suppose we could find that out because this other monitor has DVI input. So if we go back to the other monitor and check it with DVI, if this adapter is busted, in theory we should get the same behavior or some other behavior that just doesn't work. The other thing I don't like about this monitor is it requires this proprietary power supply, which, if that breaks, is not easy to replace. I have a whole bunch of those other monitors on hand. I've got probably 15 drop-in replacements available if anything ever broke. Okay, I've got the DVI connected, and it's displaying, and it's blurry, so you can tell it is definitely 480p. Now if we go back to the resolution and we select automatic, it's clear, you can tell it's matching pixel to pixel. So I guess that monitor, for whatever reason, does not like to use the signal from this. I have no idea why that is. I've used that monitor with DVI with the computer for years, but for some reason it doesn't work with this. So alright, that's not ideal, but that's fine. I could always select a different monitor at some point. I think that it should fit on the table as long as we get the speakers off the table. So I guess the first thing we got to do is open up these new speaker mounts that I got. I believe that they require assembly, so who knows how that's going to go. Probably an instruction manual with no words on it. But let's get those open and see what we can do with that, and then we can place the speakers and start to rewire everything. Here's the speaker stands. There's two different sizes. The taller ones will go in the back of the room on the floor, and the smaller ones will go in the front of the room on top of the subs. And that should put everything approximately, within a couple inches of each other, the same height. I have no idea if these are going to be any good or not. They're surprisingly heavy, so hopefully they're of reasonable quality, but there's just no way to tell anymore. And the product reviews on this stuff, product reviews on Amazon are a joke. Totally not trustworthy. Alright, so the brand is, okay. The brand is Quadraphonic. See if there's any Chinglish. No, it doesn't seem too bad. Oh, there's some. Alright, so it says at the assembly site, please lay it on the carpet and blanket to avoid damaging the floor and products. Before assembly, be sure to confirm the parts list, pocket parts list, and completion drawing. Well, that doesn't sound very promising, so let's get everything out of the box and see if the completion pocket list matches the contents of the box. Probably should have started with the smaller one. Probably be easier to handle. Microplastics there. Good. So I see the screws, the bag of screws, in the middle of this. It looks like everything is here. That's dangerous. Install the top and bottom plates. Attach the base plate flat side up. Both sides are flat. By aligning the screw holes with the standard body as in figure 1.use. 4 screws to secure it in place. After attaching the base plate, you can fill sand in the pillars to add stability. I read some commentary about putting sand in there, and that putting sand in there can change the acoustics of the speakers. So that'll be interesting to see if there is actually any kind of a difference, noticeable difference, at least to me, in the acoustics of the system with the speakers placed on the stands versus balancing on the back of the couch like they are right now. A screwdriver. There was some commentary that warned against using a powerful electric screwdriver for the assembly because it'll strip out. So we're going to heed that warning, since that wouldn't surprise me at all. And we'll just use this, which is not very powerful, and finish it off by hand. So as far as the appearance is concerned, it's not great. Definitely got a bunch of imperfections on the finish. Actually, quite a few. Well, nothing's made right anymore. That's unfortunate. Regardless, so it looks like what we're supposed to do here, they're not actually cut out, but you can feel that there's like holes. Maybe you'll see that in the video, I don't know. There's little indents here, I guess, where the screws are supposed to go through. So I imagine this is like some kind of a laminate cover that was just applied here, and the place is too cheap to actually put the screw holes through. Oh boy. So this is talking about putting the flat side down when they're both sides are flat, so that's a stupid thing to say. This side is clearly finished and this is not, so we'll put this side up. And I guess I'm going to have to put these screws through here initially in order to be able to line this up. And this is kind of dodgy here. This is a pretty good power for this particular project. These are going to assemble in just a few minutes. There was a lot of people on the reviews claiming that this was difficult to assemble and that people weren't understanding how the screws are supposed to sink below the surface like that. And, I feel like most people should be able to use a screwdriver, but apparently that's not the case. This is not difficult. If you can use a screwdriver, you can put this together. This is a perfect power level for this project. Now, I suppose there is an option here, and it would be do you have the wood face the side or the front? I guess the sides would look more reasonable. Yeah, this finish on this is really pretty poor quality. I think when we look at this in the daylight, we're going to see these don't look too good at all. And they weren't particularly expensive, but they weren't super cheap either. So now this is the opposite. We're going to put the finished flat side up against the stand and the unfinished flat side up against the floor. Why this is, oh, it's coming with so many screws to just do it. Pretty stable. I also saw some people complaining about the pieces not being exactly flat, but I don't think it'll matter in my case because it's sitting in carpet. So it has these for cable management, and then it wants you to put the cables on those with wire, not wire twists, tie wraps, which we're not going to do because tie wraps should never be placed around wires in a situation like this where it can move. It has this little felt things for the bottom. We'll put these on the smaller ones when it rests on the sub, but we're not going to put these on the carpet. There's no reason to. I don't know why it comes with two different sizes. Unless it wants. I think it's saying to put these on speakers. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. I guess that would make sense. I've never done that before, but it's never been a problem. But maybe I'll do that. Okay. screw threading into the wood. These very well might need to be filled with sand. I don't think these are going to be acoustically transparent. Okay, so those are the stands. One of them will go over here, one of the taller ones, to replace the table. I don't know where exactly we're going to position these. I'll have to deal with that once I put the Christmas stuff away, but just to get an idea. Something like that. And the same thing over here with this side. Should be able to do something much better over here as opposed to sitting on a couch like that. Actually, is surprisingly stable. Okay, so that's the back. And now over here. This is where we're going to put those, we'll put those little rubber pad things on. Actually a very good size fit. This is just about the same height as the table. And that's pretty reasonable. We're going to redo all this cabling anyway, so I'll just release this for now. Okay, so that's the speaker placement. We'll have to figure out exactly what to do with the back, but we'll deal with that in a few weeks. Alright, so now we should be able to rearrange the top here to be able to put the monitor next to the receiver. I've got all new cables here that we'll use. I've got a CD here. Definitely not going to use this HDMI cable because it's too long. I did get another one today that's a more reasonable length. Actually, I got it several days ago, but it's still, I think it's still in the car. Not that the speakers are that heavy, but it's good to get some weight off the table because this receiver is extremely heavy. And this monitor is much lighter than this old one, so I guess that gets some weight off the table as well. Okay, so we can get it to be like this, which is not as aesthetically pleasing as having it in the center is, but it frees up the view from the window. So I think this, I hate to cover up this beautiful wood grain top, but I think this is either going to have to stay there or get mounted somewhere above here at the top. I don't know how to do that though. So I didn't build this table, I've got nothing to tack on to really. If I put it under the monitor, then that goes up a few inches, which I don't really want to do that. So, well, I think we'll just leave it like that. And now that should give me enough space to put the computer mouse and the computer keyboard back. I wonder if I could put that player below. Well, now that the sub is not on the table, I think I'm going to put the computer up under the table. You don't need that anymore. I wasn't putting this on the table because I didn't want all the vibration on the table, but now I think we can put it on the table. Real quick like that even. The thing with this box is it's remote controlled, so it has to be, we have to be able to, it's got to be in line of sight with the remote, because the remote, yeah, it's an IR remote, so it's got to be line of sight. I think that we'll just leave it like that for now. And I should even be able to put a phone back over here, a cordless phone over here like I had before. Yeah, that's good. This just doesn't look too bad. Probably just because it's much cleaner by the comparison to the way that it's been. I suppose we could put the, let's see. I suppose I could always try putting it down below and see if the remote gets a good signal or not. Now the lower portion of the table looks so empty. Put my box of cables there, and we'll have to tie all this up to make this cleaner. So now let's see what we have over here. So this whole apparatus was kind of haphazardly patched together with what I had on hand, which was not an adequate amount of cables. So let's see if we can correct this. And you know what? I think I'm going to go get the drop light because I'm not going to be able to see to replug this stuff back in. I was going to go get that new HDMI cable, but then I realized that if we're going to keep both the player and the monitor on top of here, then we'll just keep using the short HDMI to DVI cable. No reason to get a whole new one that's longer. Okay, so let's take a look at the cables. These are all the cables that Russ bought. He assumed I didn't have anything that we needed, which was partially correct. We made it work, but it was not with really what we should have had. So just so I can kind of understand this, because he hooked this up, so I don't actually know what's going on here. I mean, I have a general idea, but so we have, okay, this is simple. We have 4 channels out and 4 channels in, and then the computer hookup is going to be this one, which is just a 2-channel. That we don't need to change. Okay, so we have this is very short. Actually, this, we probably can use these just to go. That might make a very clean setup. That's pretty cool. This is 2.5mm to USB-C, and looks like the iFail charger. So that's actually pretty handy to have, not so much for myself, but for other people that want to hear music on the system here that might come over. This looks like a basic RCA cable. This is okay. So we have four RCA cables of decent length, and we have four RCA cables of short length. So actually, we can really set this up no matter any way that I wanted to. In terms of where to put the equipment, we got plenty of cables here now. So that's good. If I ever want to change this, we can. I can put the player anywhere. So we're going to use these for now, because this will give us the cleanest setup, which is what I like. I'm very particular about cable routing looking nice and being easy to understand. Oh wait, this is not, well, ironically we can use these. I actually have no idea what type of cable this is. Well, we're actually going to preserve the joke from the original setup, which was regarding this. Will that work? It's hard to say. So this has got red on it, and that's red and white. You know, I'm really not sure what kind of cable this is or what the logic is. RCA splitter, 1 female to 2 male. I think that this will work just fine if we do this. I hope that works, because that's pretty funny. Okay, so that hopefully will be our connection, which eliminates this. We don't need that anymore. This is for the computer. So we need this, but it's not going to go to the receiver. This is the power. And then this is all the speakers in and out. So I previously was tying the sub into the speaker connection itself of the speakers, but I suppose since I have the extra wire, probably would make more sense to just stick it in the amplifier. These sub leads are reasonably long. And this is analog cable. I thought for a second it was digital, but it's definitely analog. It wouldn't have sounded right if it was digital cable. Fingers are too big for these little connections here. Okay, so there's the left speaker. Nope, I just connected that to the right. Ugh. I'll just disconnect the wire from the sub instead. That'll be much easier than trying to redo that again. The way these subs connect is just RCA to blank, I guess, or whatever you call it. I don't know. Okay, so this side I'll put to the other sub. This is the left. Now there's a different piece of speaker wire here. I sure hope that this is not digital. You never want to mix digital and analog wire. If you mix digital and analog wire, you get Anatol wire and Anatol sound, and it's terrible. Okay, there's our speaker connections remade. Route this wire to the back here and reconnect it to the sub. This is a digital sub. I like analog speakers, but digital subs just seem to sound better than analog ones. Okay, so that's speakers left, speakers right. Let's get this untangled here. I didn't want the speakers on the same table as the disk drive either, because that's just not a good combination. So this is our analog antenna. Maybe someday we'll get something better for that. We don't get a lot of stations in this area anyways, so it doesn't really matter. That picks up the one or two that I'd want to use well enough. At some point we're going to modify this amplifier to have the dial lights always on, and then we'll change the inputs. Right now we're using the tape monitors, but we'll change the inputs so that we're not doing that anymore after we've modified it. Alright, I think that's all the connections that we needed to make here. So that should be back to functionality. I don't want to get a new table because this table matches the rest of the furniture in here, but it definitely is making me nervous in terms of the weight capacity. And that's about as far back as we can push it. Okay, so let's get the monitor connected, and then we'll, I gotta spend more time tying up the cables and making all that cleaner, but before I do that, I want to make sure that everything actually works. I should probably just cut new pieces of analog speaker wire for these analog speakers, as opposed to trying to reuse these scraps of digital wire. Digital wire might sound better when you're playing a CD, but that's about it. I never knew that speakers and wire could be analog or digital. I'm so glad that somebody in the comments pointed that out. This is digital. This, actually, all jokes aside, this is a digital connection. Oh no, that's not going to work, because my computer input is also DVI and I can't switch between the two. I'll just go get the HDMI cable. I got the digital HDMI cable. This is longer than necessary, but it's a much more reasonable length than the other one was. connected. Now I need to reconnect the computer cables. Oh, I could have just switched the computer to a VGA. I thought this had an expansion graphics in it, which is why we were using this adapter, but inherently this is natively DisplayPort. Well, okay. I could have just changed it to VGA instead. Oh well. I might end up changing it to VGA and use that small cable just for the sake of keeping the area with less cables. Okay, the computer is working, or the display is working anyways. Into the computer now. And the computer seems to be working. Now I will turn on this. Actually, I'm really not sure what this is called. I guess it's kind of like a computer or just a very advanced CD player. So now what we can do is we just come over here to the computer screen and we can switch it to HDMI. I'd like to get a screen that has a dedicated button for switching inputs just to make it a little bit quicker, but this is fine for now. That is way too loud for a test. So we should have some songs in here that are copyright free. Here we go. So for the CD player, we have to change this to discrete, always be discrete, and we put it on this one. And this should give us some connection here. I'm not familiar with what songs these were. I didn't put this together. Alright, it sounds like it's working. Doesn't seem like it's doing anything. That's because it's off. If you turn on the digital sub, yep, there we go. That's working. sound from both back here too, so we should be good. Okay, so that was successful. We have successfully rearranged the music playing table with all of our digital wires and analog speakers and Digimical computer and analog players. And this is what it looks like now. It looks pretty good, I think. So now I'll just have to, another day, I'm not going to do it today, I don't have any more time today, but another day I'll go through and clean up all those wires. With the way I had it before, I had all the cables routed behind the leg there, you couldn't see all this. I'll put it back to that because this looks terrible. But it's functional, it's usable for now, and it sounds great.